Thank you for staying with us. This is Backstage in Arizona, and with us on our interview tonight is Andy Ligon III, or known by the New Times as Judge I Rankin. How are you tonight?
Great.
Tell us a little bit about the inner workings of the New Times.
Oh, God. Do you want it chronologically or alphabetically?
Either.
Inner workings of the New Times, there are no set rules. For me, I'm just a freelance writer. I get to pick what I want to write about, and usually my editors say, fine, do whatever you want to with them. They usually don't have much to say about, well, be sure to ask him that or be sure to ask him thus and so. They just leave it up to me to come up with pertinent contemporary issues and music, bands, interviews.
You specifically do music, entertainment?
Yeah, I'm just a music critic, writer. I don't deal with straight news reporting or editorial functions of that nature.
If somebody out there had a talent they believed in writing and wanted to try out to get a job at the New Times, what would they have to go through?
They do what I did, just mail in your best work and hope that whatever you wrote about can be applied to something that would be pertinent to the New Times editorial direction. And
what is the editorial direction? Here we go.
Issues that aren't usually covered by the other newspapers in town.
Controversial?
Controversial, usually something that, like Jana Bommersback is hot on the NutraSweet issue for about a year now, and I don't think too many other media sources have, kept up their end of reporting on the good or the bad of NutraSweet. Andy Zipser is the Palo Verde demon. He's all over that issue all the time. Whether or not any of the other newspapers have felt it necessary to continue coverage. Political issues, what's happening with our city government that readers should know about. What's happening with the city of Phoenix as far as the whole nation is concerned. A city the size of Phoenix obviously must have some kind of impact on what happens with the rest of the nation.
Does anybody ever write about the people of the New Times? Like you have a very flamboyant editor, Michael Lacey.
If that stuff is done, it's usually done by
somebody else.
Other outside of Phoenix media. The Columbia Journalism Review has written a couple of stories about Michael Lacey, and I think the Arizona Business Gazette did a short bit on Jim Larkin, the publisher, and what the New Times was 10 years ago as compared to what's happening to it today. Outside of that, I don't think any of the specific writers have been taken to task in front of another media system like this.
Well, you also you DJ at some of the clubs around.
I have DJed at various clubs around town, but I'm afraid my interests in music don't quite mesh with what the club owners feel the people should be dancing to.
What are your interests?
I got hired at the New Times because of the reggae aspect that I know quite a lot about, but apart from that, I write a lot about heavy metal, jazz, music you probably won't ever hear on the radio for the most part. Experimental groups, local groups that are just now getting famous that for a long time couldn't get heard in their own backyard, like the Meat Puppets, and various strange, I guess.
Well, does the New Times have a wide spectrum of entertainment they cover, or do they more or less pick who they personally like?
I don't always personally, as far as I'm concerned, don't personally pick just what I like. I do stories on things I could really, do without, but I do it anyway just because I feel it's pertinent in some respect.
Then we'd be getting an unbiased approach to it. It's not, you're not letting your own...
I hope it's unbiased,
I mean, you do try for that.
Oh, sure. I try to remain as objective as possible, although when I write about groups that I really do like, then it's really hard to not be a fan when I'm writing about a particular group.
What type of stories that you have written would not have made it into the New Times?
Well, I can't even remember. I think every story I've ever written has been published, so I can't say that I've ever been struck down for writing something too controversial that they wouldn't want to see it in their own newspaper. So they've they've been pretty lenient with me for the most part.
And Andy Vandervoort is your immediate boss. What's it like working for him? Nobody seems to know anything about him. He kind of like hangs back in there.
Well, he's the editor. He has to remain real impartial with whatever we do, because I know that some of the stories that I write about, or Theo or Eric Serlman, don't always jive with Andy's particular interests. And I mean, he likes a certain type of music, but he still lets us write about what we want to write about, and tries to give us as much leeway in letting us get our point across without, you know, editing out too much important stuff. He doesn't really sometimes he'll assign a story if it is obviously really a pressing issue, like the you know, the record rating thing, or MTV, if something is like MTV is becoming quite lame for me to watch, and if he feels that's necessary, then maybe he'll assign it to one of us who he feels is competent enough to write about it. Outside of that, he just lets us, you know, we'll come to him with stuff to say, look, we want to write about this. Can we go with it? In
the beginning, New Times started out real small, and they were struggling, and now they're the epitome of success in Arizona. They're more or less the Bible of entertainment. But a lot of people have said they're losing touch with entertainment in Arizona. They're specifically going for what interests them. Well, do you have any comments on that type?
Yeah, I get that all the time. Being a weekly newspaper, they are automatically limiting themselves space-wise to get as much in to each issue as they possibly can. So consequently, I've noticed that since I started working there, writing for them, a lot of the local coverage has tended to be overshadowed by more national, prominent kind of groups or issues. I still try to do as much as I can, you know, in covering local groups, but there again, if something else takes precedence that Andy feels, you know, should be taken to task, then whatever I come up with may have to take a lower priority.
Well, thanks a lot, Andy, for being part of the show.
My pleasure.